Today's guest is one of the most visionary, joyful, and inspiring leaders I know. Dr. Adelle Shade is the Vice President of Innovation and Educational Ventures at Alvernia University and the founder of Total Experience Learning, a groundbreaking approach that has transformed how students learn, create, and participate in their own futures. I've had the privilege of getting to know Adelle, and she's just an all-around awesome human. Creative, energetic, brilliant, and full of heart. Her journey has grit, imagination, and a whole lot of soul. Adelle, I am thrilled that you are here.
Well, thank you, Karen. And I feel joyful today.
Yeah,
I do. But I would say I'm right back at you. What an innovative leader you are. And I've been looking forward to this podcast. So thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. It's exciting to come and see you, to have you come and see me and talk on here. Both of us being Athena Award winners, which is like such an honor, and having, I think, really met around that time period.
That is when we connected, was through the Women to Women for GRCA and the award. Yeah.
So I'm blessed to know you. It's wonderful.
Ditto. Back at you.
Well, to start us off, for everyone who's kind of tuned in today, I think it's really important for us to talk a little bit about the work that you do. Do you want to talk a little bit about your role in this vice president role that you're doing with Alvernia, and then maybe we can lead into what the program of the Total Experience Learning?
Sure, absolutely. And so my role right now at Alvernia, innovation and educational ventures, but it's really the Total Experience Learning Institute at Alvernia University, and founded Total Experience Learning. I refer to that as TExpL.
TExpL, okay.
As we go through the podcast, I'll probably say TExpL, and
Got it.
That shortens it up a bit. But yes, the Institute is there. We serve educators and students and really want to support innovative classroom practices and frameworks for entire school systems and districts to be innovative. And that educators and students feel like they have the support to be innovative, because setting up innovative environments isn't always an easy thing. Would you agree with that, Karen?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It is.
Definitely, especially when you have a way that things have always been done before, and to try to do something new and different is hard, especially I would imagine in the educational space.
Right. And if you think about education and how traditional it is, it really hasn't changed much in 100 years.
That's remarkable when you think about that.
We still have the same schedules for schools. The classrooms, when you walk in, they're starting to change now. Obviously, there's technology in those classrooms now, but some of the rooms you go into, you could take a picture 100 years ago and it would look almost the same, minus the chalkboard and the dust. But, and so changing practices to what's happening and taking a glimpse into your world. And I'm sure it has changed massively if we went back 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so preparing people for that world in an environment which might not have always kept pace with the change, although the educators want the change. So how do we support all of them to do those things?
Exciting. When you think of this framework that you're putting in, like what does the classroom that is innovative look like in your mind? Like, what are some key elements that you would see with the TExpL? I got that right?
Yeah, there you go. I think what makes it different is connecting to every student's interest area while you're still doing what you're supposed to be doing in class. Okay. All those in teacher world, edu-speak, I call it. Edu-speak.
Everybody has their speak, right?
Every industry would say so many acronyms, so many letters, but edu-speak would say the standards that you need to meet, right? All the test scores you see, those are all on standards, and you're supposed to meet those. So if you can connect what people love to those standards, they would understand them better, right? When it's in something you're interested in. Yeah. But being able to do that's really hard when you're a teacher and you have 30 different kids, 7 or 8 times a day. Multiply that out of how many people you see in a day. How do you, as one person, reach every student's interest and do what you're supposed to do at the same time? And so that's the thing I took 10 years to study. What are some frameworks and strategies to do that? That's what TExpL is. And what I found, what's really interesting, I've spent a lot of years commuting from here in Berks County to Philadelphia. had a variety of degrees there. And at one point, Penn at Wharton had business project management workshops running. And I was at University of the Sciences, and we could go to these workshops. So I went because I knew nothing about it as a teacher. And that was the eureka. That was the light bulb. And I sat in business project management training and said, teachers are project managers. No one has ever shown us these skills.
So interesting.
Yeah. Because you have all of these kids.
Yeah.
All of these things that they're doing. That's what project management is, right? Taking chaos and trying to
definitely, I would
make
there's
order
chaos in the classroom.
some way.
Yeah.
And so putting that framework behind then all the research behind what's best to educate people, I mix those two things. So that's what makes TExpL so different, and that the outcome of the end, at the end, yes, do we want the education standards met? Absolutely, and they will be. But we want kids to be able to explore, invent, answer questions they have at the same time. It makes it so much more meaningful, right? The real goal should be happy students and teachers walking into a school building every day.
Excited to be there.
I guess that's the big goal.
I love that.
Right?
I love that. And so let's rewind a little bit. So
sure.
I love, you've given us sort of the idea of what it is, which it sounds like to me you're combining passion with learning for better outcomes, and you've created this framework and tool set that you're able to give teachers, educators, and also work with students on. Does that sound right? That
is, yeah.
Okay.
And it's having an actual framework as a teacher, as an educator, and you could do this at any age group. Doesn't matter how old the student is. We have 65-year-olds in our grad courses learning this way.
Nice.
So having that educator feel like it's possible, because much of the time when a teacher's in that room and has that many kids, they think, I can't manage for them all to be doing, all 200 of them to be doing something different.
It feels
And
overwhelming.
so now, we've kind of put together a framework that makes them feel comfortable.
That's amazing.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So, you've talked about the moment when you were at Penn and you had this sort of eureka moment, but I know some of your backstory.
Yeah.
Take me all the way back to where even your path and stepping stones to where you are today, because I think you have such an incredible journey as an educator yourself, and then getting to this point where you're essentially the founder of a business and even more, and a tool and a technology, right, of how to do this.
Right. So first I'd say there were so many people that helped me along the way, because if I go back 15 years, there is no way I would have thought 15 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing today. And Karen, you and I talk about this sometimes, right? I mean, if you go back 20 years, would you have identified, hey, I'm going to make my own podcast and write a book and, all these things, And I think, going back that 15 years, my goal to start was to have a really great after-school science club at Comrade Weiser High School. Because I was at Comrade Weiser. I can say that Comrade Weiser, for me, was such a great place for this to have its foundation and where it was created, because there were many supports there to actually take risk and be innovative. So I do want to credit back to that. My principal that was there, our administration, superintendent, were all great with that, and really allowed you to kind of explore.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I wanted to have a great after school club. And so started with 12 students one summer, and we had a great time. And they did, the research these kids were doing, they were in our classrooms month of July reading 20-page intense published research papers. Teenagers in July.
I was going to say, this is
reading papers that adults don't want to read. So, but they were so passionate about it. And I thought, wow, if you put opportunity out there, students gravitate towards it. If you really find out what they love, they gravitate towards it. But how do we make the adults feel like they can handle it? Right. So started there. Funny story, and anyone in schools in the early 2000s would relate to this. in the audience. So I'm teaching, and this was the time where you still had tube TVs, and there's that big tube TV stationed in the corner of the classroom.
Was it on a cart that you roll around?
It was actually mounted.
Oh, it's mounted.
in the corner. That was a step up from the 80s,
yes.
where we'd be dragging them through the
carts.
hallway. So this huge TV mounted in the corner, and we were prepping for standardized tests, and at random times in the day, a test question would pop up on the screen, and every class would stop and do this test question. And teachers weren't happy, students weren't happy, but it was a great kind of, I'll say, attempt at really trying to say, like, hey, these standards are important. We need to do those things. Absolutely. But relating that to what the students are doing, I think, was some of the piece that was missing. So that's what I wanted to address. Like, how do you bring those things together? Then started changing the way I was operating my classroom. Was bringing business and industry in a lot. That was also fun. So over time, my students got so accustomed to visitors in that classroom, they would ask me on a Monday, Ms. Shade, who's coming in this week? Well, is that the CEO of that company? Because aren't the CEOs supposed to come see us? I thought, yes, all right, we're there.
Love it.
Yeah. So we had all of these business folks coming through. And at one point, one of them said to me, I should have signed an NDA before I saw that student's work. And that was the first time we really started to wrap our heads around when students are given opportunity, they can make real intellectual property too, which was, again, did I have that vision? No, that would be a no. Awesome. but it was a great byproduct.
Yeah.
We now, this year, we're up to 15 patents applied for or received by high school students.
It's incredible.
In the last 4 years. Yeah.
That's incredible.
In Berks County.
That's awesome. Tell us about some of those patents. Like, can you give us some examples of what they were able to create?
I can, yeah. And it blows my mind. But there's one young lady. We were on the morning show for Fox and Friends about a year and a half ago. She was a Wilson High School grad. Started working with us in 5th grade. So she had this vision from 5th grade. She had a grandparent with dementia, couldn't remember to take medications. She wanted to make a patch that could deliver those medications through a month so her grandmother wouldn't need to remember to take them, right? They'd be automatically there in the patch, done. She did that. She made that patch, a pharmaceutical patch, delivers drug without needles using bioactive glass spheres. She submitted 3 patent applications on it. She received 2. She went to New York for school, Rensselaer, and just won last summer New York State's business competition for the entire state, got venture funders.
Wow.
So now she's 18. She has her own company called Patch Life, trademarked. Of course, we taught her that. Protect everything.
Yeah. So
I'll say that on the podcast. Protect everything that you create, right?
Yes. That's such great advice. And oh my God, you're giving me goosebumps with the story. So.
And we can teach students that, you know. So yeah, she has Patch Life funding behind it, 2 out of 3 patents on this pharmaceutical patch, and she's 18 and started that in 5th grade.
Wow.
All right, so that's one example. We have some other students who figured out a way to make glass, like the glass product, out of chicken manure.
That's so a great sustainability.
This is a great podcast topic.
I love it. Chicken poop.
Yeah. And again, it was an interesting. There was a speaker we had come into class, the Secretary of Agriculture for the state of Pennsylvania. We had a completely separate business partner from Missouri and Bioactive Glasses. There were 3 sophomore young ladies at the time. Heard both. Heard our Secretary of Ag say one of the largest problems to the environment in Pennsylvania is too much chicken manure. It's sitting in all the fields, leaching into our water supply, causing havoc in the Chesapeake. Said, figure out something to do with this manure that's not biofuel or fertilizer. They figured out the now you're going to learn about the chemicals in chicken manure.
Hey, I
are
like
the
it.
same as the chemicals in glass.
Really?
So they said, well, then can't we just, because buy the chemicals to make glass can get expensive. You're buying these pure chemicals and have to mix them. They're like, but if they're the same, can't we just use that? And chicken manure is like $15 a ton.
It sounds like we
fact.
have a ton of it. Yeah.
And so we went to Ursinus. They have a glass research lab. And we did it. And that project's still going on under a company now called Gemelina Glass LLC. So those are some examples. Of course, that's not the goal of total experience learning isn't just to get kids to do that. I think the important part of that is when you set up great, innovative educational environments, you really don't know how much opportunity you're going to open up for people. And you'll have things come out of it that you would never, ever expect.
Yeah.
Again, who would plan? Hey, I'm going to have my class make glass out of chicken manure today.
It's fantastic. Yeah. The innovation in there to be able to create that space. I like this whole concept too, where you're saying that's not actually the goal, but it's the byproduct of the process, which just even solidifies. I mean, you've changed the lives of, it sounds like there's over 15 patents, but there's over, I don't know how many students have gone through your program. You're just talking about 2 that ended up, the ripple effect must be profound.
Yes. And especially when you engage teachers and you think about how many students they see in a day, that is exponential.
Oh, yeah.
Then, one teacher, 200 students in a year, you could multiply that out year by year and how many people you reach that way. Yeah.
Exciting.
So it's exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you must be very proud to see all of this and to feel how you're transforming students. And I guess, how have the educators that you've worked with and they're learning this, have you got any feedback or stories from them on what it feels like to have the right tools and to be able to do this kind of work?
Yeah, some great educator stories. And really, they're the ones driving all of what's happening in TExpL. Right? TExpL, I explain this sometimes like a ground up movement, right? If you think about education frameworks and movements, and this didn't come down from our, Department of Ed as a mandate. This wasn't, some big hotshot somewhere sitting behind a desk. It started, with me at one point in a classroom. I was a classroom teacher. That's what it is now, right? So it's all these classroom teachers saying, we're ready to change and we're ready to do it and let's go.
Cool.
And then their administrators are supporting them. We have so many amazing administrators in education right now as well, ready to take risk. I think COVID opened the door for a lot of this because you had to do things so different. Now there's no going back. You had to change.
You had to change. You had to think differently anyway, so you might as well keep going on the path.
So I think it just opened the door to innovation. Administrators are supporting teachers to be innovative. It's just moving that way. And I think that is, for me, the most rewarding part of this is knowing I really don't feel like I'm driving it. It's them.
It's taking on a life of its own.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It's cool. We go, when we have people that want to come visit and see what it looks like in a classroom, and we take visitors to Berks County. We've gotten them from all over the country now. Fantastic. Coming in to see what's going on. And so we connect with our local school districts who are doing it and move those visits around to different places. And one of the places we take visitors is Governor Mifflin School District, who has a robust program. That district is very innovative, as are many others in Berks. But
what would the classroom there look like, just to give us a window into it? What is something unique that we wouldn't see?
You would walk in, and first thing you notice is it's not silent. Right. It's people in groups and talking, and would not look like the traditional classroom of rows with someone up in front talking.
Gotcha.
Now, not that you never, have to give, again, EduSpeak calls that direct instruction, when you have one person in front talking to a group, like a lecture.
Gotcha.
Doesn't mean that never happens, but it needs to be really short, right? 6-7 minutes, attention span then would be gone. And then you're actually doing something. So being able, again, to kind of chunk that into pieces and put together something that flows and makes sense for the educator or the person in charge of the room, it's a lot of work ahead of time, and they become less the we call them the guide on the side instead of the sage on the stage, right? So you become more of a facilitator, then you're going to sit and listen to what I tell you for the next hour, you know?
Guide on the side.
It's a different way.
Versus the sage on the stage.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Those 6 to 7 minutes, I mean, it sounds to me, and you can tell me if I'm hitting a parallel for you, that there's a bit of, I like to talk about storytelling, and there's storytelling in, because we learn through stories. It sounds to me as if you're almost crafting an experiential story where you're setting up some piece of it, knowing none of us have these long attention spans. I mean, gosh, we're in the world of, it has to be brief, and there's so much being sent to us. And then, so they're getting this piece, and then they're going in, and they're sort of, the experience is the actual act of them being in the story themselves as they're figuring it out. Does this feel true to you?
Yes. And it'll change depending on the class they're in. But I can give you an example. Here's a great example. And if you're from Reading and Berks County, it was in the Reading Eagle this year. So you could probably Google this story in some way. But this was a 4th grade class. Again, I'm going to Governor Mifflin School District. And there's a teacher there. Her name's Rachel Sebastian. Amazing educator. She's the librarian there. She created, with the 4th grade, they recreated an entire city. They had students, by their interest areas, break into teams and to start companies. And they each started a company for the city to operate. They worked with the Greater Reading Chamber. They put this all together for a day and had ribbon cuttings for the business opening. But I'm here's the amazing part, okay? I walk in to see them, and I have a 4th grader meet me at the door and say, "Hello, I'm so-and-so," right? Don't remember the name, but I'm so-and-so, and I am the head of communications and marketing. And I thought, I didn't know what that was. So I was like 35 years old, but I'm the head of communications and marketing, and I'm going to take you to our human resources area. I thought, this is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
But even the language, so none of that would scare these kids, right? They're being exposed to, here's how things operate. Businesses operate in teams. You have people that specialize in areas, right? Understanding those things. But they had to actually make all of those pieces of a company. It wasn't just, hey, we're going to come up with this idea like a cookie and we're selling a cookie. We had a group of 4th grade girls study Caterpillar Incorporated and their equipment. They made sustainability engineering teams within their company and redesigned one of their pieces so that, because they were having trouble with dry dirt coming up as they were excavating, they redesigned that piece so that they had like moisture coming down on the dirt, and then a heating unit that would pull up the droplets. I mean, it was
like real engineering.
It was real.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
They just won a competition in the county for it and are going to Harrisburg to introduce it to the state. 4th grade girls, all girls, saying, we're engineers and we created Caterpillar's piece like in 4th grade.
Awesome.
It's just neat to see. But that's an example of what it would be. So if you take that example, how many subjects, you know this because this is what you do every day of your life, how many school subjects would you use making that new piece?
Oh, there's going to be so many, it's going to cross over so many different areas. Oh, yeah.
Being able to read, write, and speak? Yes.
Yes.
Math? Yes. And anything else, knowing the history of, that piece of land and what happened. And then they were looking at legislation. And I mean, because of the environmental impacts, they needed to make sure it was safe. All of those things.
That's cool.
Thanks.
It sounds like, again, you are creating this movement. I love it. And I love this idea that it's ground up and sounds like, because it is starting with educators, the ripple effect you're creating is sustainable. Like it's, do you feel like you're like lighting the fire of all of these people to kind of collectively, grow even further?
Yes, yes. And they're all, teachers, we collaborate, we talk to each other. And if there's something that helps us, we will tell each other, and that's where I said that this is really a bottom up movement right now by the Berks teachers. This fall, we've now expanded TExpL out of Berks County. So we're in the Harrisburg area, we're in Philadelphia, we're up in Allentown, Lancaster. We're in all the counties surrounding Berks now with school districts.
That's great.
And teachers there too. So that's been exciting.
And it sounds like you're going even further. Like you said, you had people come like across the country that have been interested. And I know there's been others, even if I'm correct, I think there's been some businesses or other people who are interested in how you're applying this. Because it sounds like, again, this idea around experiential learning is the key.
That has been an interesting development. And I'll say it's really been able to come about in the last year, which is a corporate lens on this. Because again, what we found, when I started this, I was really just thinking about these K-12 classrooms. Then we've had people from industry come in to say, I have a whole division of my company that trains my own employees in whatever we need them to know. And sometimes, most of the time, those people aren't trained to be educators. They're people that were good at whatever that skill was, who now teach others. But being able to teach someone something is a whole skill in itself.
Yeah.
Right? There's people, we have dedicated our entire professional lives to how do we do that best? It's a science, to know how people's brains actually work. So we're now getting interest from companies and businesses to say, can you help and most of the time it's in the HR, human resources department, can you help our trainers be more engaging when they're teaching our own employees? We can teach them how to make that experiential.
That's great. Well,
so hopefully you're not in your company training, falling asleep or scrolling on your phone,
Which I know is the case for many, many of us out there. And I think it's really awesome that there's a way to kind of evolve that for business. So any advice for educators who would be listening, or anyone who wants to, what's the first crack in getting yourself down the innovative path besides just coming and learning about the TExpL?
TExpL, yes.
And what is because I imagine that you have, you've had a lot of really great support from the school districts that you've been in and the different people. Is there any sort of advice to someone who's ready to start this journey for where they are at?
Sure. Yeah. I think, first they could go to Alvernia's website anytime and you'll see total experience learning. There's links at the top of the homepage for that. And all of our information's there and can reach out anytime to get involved. So educators, administrators, we have student programming. We run a robust summer camp.
How many students do you bring? And what
last
ages?
Summer, we had 300 students on Alvernia's campus.
That's awesome.
Right. And that's for 5th to 12th grade students.
Okay.
So that's all, again, online on the website. But anyone could reach out there and get a hold of us, and then we'll direct them into the right area. But yeah, that's open anytime.
It's great. Well, you're creating an ecosystem, I think. You've used this word, I think, before of really kind of lighting the collective fire on all of this.
Right.
Right. Cool. Is there anything, this has been a journey for you, and just to kind of go back to yourself as a leader, I know how much you view culture being important for your team and what you're working on. Any thoughts on that and how you keep your team energized?
So many thoughts.
You're growing at a rapid pace too. So
you're
both teaching a framework and figuring out how to keep this piece going, but which is your product. But yeah, at the same time, you're also running a business and you're growing and it's expanding. And I think it's only going to probably keep growing at a fast clip.
We are. It's been a really interesting time, and would love to even hear, Karen, some of your thoughts as we talk about this topic.
Yeah.
It's kind of the topic of being able to scale, right? So we are growing, outside of Berks this year, probably even much further starting next year. And we're starting to look into some other states and how we go into some other states. And to do that, all the work to be able to do it happens ahead of time.
Yeah.
So this past year for TExpL, for my leadership team, we spent significant time working on the business, you know, and not,
like to hear that.
Not as much in it, right?
Yep.
And it was, you know, do we have the right people, right seats, doing the right things with their time? Are we looking ahead to say, okay, if we do scale this way, where would our workforce be needed in the, you know, for our employees? And then, like you said, the bigger question is, when I started and had total experience learning, and at the time it was called Science Research Institute at Conrad Weiser, and moved it out of the school to really kind of take this chance.
Yeah.
I had no idea what would happen, but I did it.
Your instincts are
here we
spot.
go.
Your instincts are spot on here as you keep going. I just want your instincts on. You know, I always like to say, it may be foggy. You know, you're headed in the right direction. You just make the next 3 moves, and then as the clouds part, you can keep pivoting. Your instincts have served you so well to get you to where you are here.
Well, and I had a lot of help with that.
That's great.
A lot of it advising and advisors, but again, was going to make that move, and you really, you know, people ask a lot, well, was that your vision? No. No. And you didn't know if it would work or not, and it had the potential not to, you know, to be realistic.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur, it's risk. But that's also what I think is so exciting. So moved that out, and it was just me, one employee, one person. My first hire, her name's Kayla, and she was actually a student of mine at Conrad Weiser and did this her senior year, went to college, was an intern there, came back, and then she was my first hire when I moved this out. She's still with me. So she's been I say she's been with us since her senior year of high school. But it was just the two of us. So go from that to now we're 16 full-time employees. We have over 100 part-time employees. The culture gets much more difficult.
Yes.
Can you relate?
Yes, absolutely.
It's
the more
such
you
a
add in,
thing.
how do you keep it? How do you keep the integrity of the vision, of the behaviors? It's hard when it becomes bigger. You know,
right. And
definitely.
And it becomes where when you're a small group, some of that just happens naturally, especially when you're in the same space. We actually now need a strategy and intentional planning behind culture.
Yep.
And that's again a spot that we're in because we reached that spot where we kind of got through, I'll say, startup. Now past startup, getting ready to expand, I say it and be a real company. That's what I was going to say. So how do you get ready to be a real larger company?
And this has been a fast journey for you too. I mean, you've gone from, you know, like the startup phase and now, you know, really if you're saying you're at 16 but with the 100 part-time, I mean, that's a significant size organization. And so now you're probably running into how do I professionalize and put in some standard operating procedures, but you still want to be flexible and you still want to honor what the purpose is. You know, those are real challenges.
Yeah. And the operations of that where again, when you're so small, you know, one person is doing and knows something and all 3 or 5 of you know because you're all there. And then you say, oh, now we need an actual process for that.
Yes. Well, and Adelle, you have to let go of things, right? And let people
so
help
hard.
you and delegate. And those can be things that are really difficult, especially for founders of something,
challenging.
Right?
Yeah, that's challenging. And you know, the TExpL team is amazing. And they've all been with me and come through this process with me. We wouldn't be doing any of what we're doing without them. And so, you know, looking at that team and the way that they've actually helped manage this, and I shouldn't say help, they did it. You know, your leadership team does it, does the work. And they're the ones that are leading this and, you know, checking on the culture and making sure those things stay in place. And were my first guinea pigs in delegation. So they survived that.
You're
so
doing
far.
something right.
Knock on wood.
Yes, you're doing
far.
something right. I feel like the flywheel is turning for you, and this perspective around culture and this idea, you know, I always like to think of it as gardening. It's a labor of love. It's something you have to continually work at and continually be planting and nurturing. And, you know, it's just, it sounds like it's top of mind for you and you're thinking about it. I think that's half the battle, is making sure that it's part of the priority as well. So then you can work on the great product as well, that you're delivering this
Right.
amazing outcomes that you're having.
Right. And knowing you know, that your team has that mindset of startup's a unique environment, right? It's a unique mindset of an individual who can be successful in that kind of environment, because you need to be ready to fail often and not see it as failure.
Right.
Right. You need to be willing to, okay, we're starting this up. This is what we're going to do. Well, this didn't work. We think this will. Do it. Do it now.
Learning moments.
And just go.
Yeah.
And be able to do that, and be okay when things don't work the way you thought they would. And it's okay.
Resilience, and my favorite word,
It's
grit.
grit.
Yes.
It's grit.
Yes, to be able to overcome those obstacles. Any other big turning points that kind of are in your mind, or that have happened that you think really led to where you are today?
For me personally, it's been the people around me. I said when I talk about this, and even being the founder, but it's hard to say, when you are that person that you've founded this thing, because there was so much help.
Right.
As soon as I started this at Conrad Weiser, I had two individuals, one who's my uncle, his name's Bud Reitnauer, and his friend Tom Sheehan. And they took me to dinner and sat me down, and at that point said, "We think you could have something here," because I didn't think that way. I was a classroom teacher. Why would I think about anything different than my club and my classroom? And so they said, "We think you have something here. You should protect things you create," and taught me all of that, or I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opportunity, that they saw opportunity with you and to mentor you. I mean, that's such a blessing to have them come in and for you to be open to listen and be like, okay,
all right,
that's great.
And then they said, the other thing we're going to do for you is introduce you to other entrepreneurs and leaders. And we're going to surround you with really great people who have character, because as you go through this, they knew it would be hard. They didn't say that then. They didn't say, "Adelle, this is going to be really, really hard," but worth every moment. But they said, we're going to surround you with great people that you can lean on, who will look out for you, and surrounded me with those people. And they were all people with experience, and experience in business outside of education. And so, again, I leaned on them really hard through this time. And I can say every single one of them are still involved now. It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
Which I can't believe 10 years went by, but it's been 10 years. They're all still involved.
Well, it's a testament to what you're doing, and a testament to you as an individual. And I think your passion is about this. It's super infectious. And I think that it's not surprising that you're being so successful. And the point and the insight that you talk about there is none of us are successful by ourselves, right? If anything, whenever, I don't know if you feel this way, whenever I'm getting stuck, it's usually because I'm trying to do something alone.
Right.
And I'm not really thinking wider to say, wait, what am I doing? There are people who I work with that can help me, or I don't know. And then also, I think the other side of that is when people are seeking help, to be willing to step in and help when you feel like it feels like the right thing to do, like you've just talked about all these wonderful people doing for you.
When you look at this, it's all volunteer as well for these people, which also stands out to me.
Wow.
And I will never forget, which makes me want to do this for the next person.
It's great.
But it's, I really believe the most precious thing you can give to someone else is your time. If you give someone moments of your life, that is more than any dollar they could give you, anything else. And these people have put time into this. It also tells you how important they think education is in this country, right? That's their focus. It's let's transform education. it could come
Yeah,
right out of
well,
Berks
you're doing
County.
it. Yeah, out of Berks County, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Here we come. It's awesome. It's as far as your experience with Alvernia. I know there's a really unique structure that I think is worth sharing for those listening of a business that's operating under the umbrella of a university like Alvernia. Is there anything you want to share about that hybrid model, just to kind of let people know about what's possible and to think about for whatever it is that they might be working on?
Yeah, and it's a really interesting model. And in the world of higher ed, for anyone that's not focused on that right now, it is a really competitive industry right now.
Interesting.
Because our population of people keeps going down. The number of students going for that traditional residential four-year degree continues to go down as well. This year in Pennsylvania, and this is on a recorded podcast, so I'm not going to disclaimer that I believe this is true, but just in case it bumped down 2 or 3 spots, I'm going to give myself the out.
No, that's right. You can give yourself an out.
I'm giving myself an out
hurt, yes.
on the data. But I think this
general
year,
trend is still important, I think, to share. Because this is interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
I believe this year may have been the smallest kindergarten class ever registered. I think since the 60s for Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Just showing you the population trend.
Is that so? That's saying so that do you think the reason that is going down is just there isn't as many children of that age and people?
Right.
Is it? Do you
people
think
aren't having as many kids?
That's okay. So you're thinking it's just not having as many kids. Oh,
so
wow.
our population of school age children keeps going down, which you go out 18 years means there's not as many college students, and couple that with the value of a degree is going down, right? So there's questions. Is this really a great return on investment? People have those questions.
Yeah.
Now, we have all the data behind, yes, it still does increase your lifetime earnings and, all of those things. But there's some questions there. And I think one of the bigger pieces is having a student go live at a spot for 4 years and get a traditional undergrad degree isn't for everybody anymore. And it used to be you either do that or you have nothing, and it doesn't need to be that way now. So that's changing. But most higher eds relied on just that. That was their business model. Having students move here, live here for 4 years. And so if you don't have that and your whole industry is based on that, it's time to not be Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
So
right.
How do you? We should probably cut out that I said Blockbuster. But
no, I mean there are business cases. When I was in business school, we looked at the Blockbuster as an example of something that they didn't see what was coming, and they they're essentially made out of business. And now look at how we consume content is all streaming. The heck, we're on YouTube right now, or depending on how someone is listening to this content, it has completely changed. And they could have been a part of that, but missed it. So super. So higher education is now more competitive because there's less students coming in, which then is making the problem of they need to think differently about what they're delivering and or maybe how they're attracting. Does that mean reflecting what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So interesting.
Because you take all of those things going down, and at the end of the day, what that means is revenue continues to go down for higher eds. Pennsylvania's especially sensitive because we have a large number of higher ed institutions.
Yes, right.
So, again, the Northeast of the United States is extremely competitive in higher eds.
So
it's one of the hardest areas to operate.
Well, is it also this idea of that they're going to be staying there? Because I know for us at American Crane, we have a lot of people come into us from, VOTech or different tech schools, and then maybe they'll continue on and we will actually do tuition reimbursement for them, but they're working for us.
Right.
So they're not going to go stay at a 4-year, school. And I imagine there's a lot more opportunities like those existing. Is that part of what's playing into this too?
Exactly. And that's where I really appreciate the way Alvernia has their entire business model set up. So they, many years ago, could see all of these trends and see this coming. And again, just like I talked about TExpL, we had to work this year because, the growth is happening there. You couldn't wait right now to this moment till we see all of these colleges closing to make your changes of your institution to be able to.
You're too late.
Right.
Yeah.
So, these things happened a decade ago. But what they did was create a structure so that they could diversify revenue, right? So that you can have other sources other than relying solely on that undergrad residential. So things like you're talking about, business partnerships, where people can move in and out of education according to what they need to be successful.
That's great.
That's something that's really attractive as the new model, right? And that you don't have to think about it as, hey, there's these 4 years and this is what you do. And then you go back and not that has to go away.
Right.
There's
It's
still
a path.
people
That's still a path for some.
Absolutely
for sure.
work for.
Yeah.
We just can't rely on it solely.
Interesting.
Right. And so for TExpL, we're like a company running under the umbrella of, it's kind of that kind of model, which is really interesting because then we can make products. Big higher eds, if you think about the largest institutions have explored that a little over time. Now I think every higher ed is looking at, okay, how do we bring in new streams of revenue? What are the things we need to do? I think, again, too, what's really exciting about Alvernia is they are really serious about their mission. So they made sure that anything they would do in that diversification aligned with the mission, which
smart
is
strategy.
why TExpL fits so well there. Because of our mission to really support and transform education and have the opportunity to innovate, create products, and diversify revenue, works under that mission. But that's a new thing for higher eds to take a look at. If you think about it that way.
Yeah, you're changing the world in a whole bunch of different ways, right? From higher education to how your students are getting taught. Like, it's super, super interesting. A world I am
It's just doing things, figuring it out every day, and then doing the next day.
Yeah. It's
right.
It's pretty awesome. Is there, if we continue around this and come back to, one of the things I always like to ask, which around what's lifting others or what's lifting you. And I'd like to start by first asking you, what does lifting students, educators, and communities look like or feel like to you? I think this is essentially what you're doing, right?
Right. What does it feel like? Was that the question?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Start there.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I think it feels humbling often. I'll describe it this way. There are times now I go onto social media, we'll take Facebook, LinkedIn, one of those, and there will be people I don't even know who they are now, and I'm reading what they're doing with TExpL.
That's
I'm
exciting.
like, oh, wow, cool. Look at what this person did, and look at what that person did, and I think it humbles you to say, okay, we need to continue to figure out how to support what all of these people are doing. I think it drives you, right? To
Reigniting your own fire.
Yeah. And I think it really makes you look back at your team and appreciate what they've done, right? Because they've taken what started as an idea in your head. And you may have started out, like I said, it's a small team as you went. But they took what was in your head and made all those things happen and appreciate doing it.
Like sometimes, I don't know if you noticed this, they take
it's hard
it
to wrap your head around.
It becomes something more than you could have even imagined when you start amplifying with others. I mean, even as we're in here in this podcast space, we were, it's like, oh, look at my team made this space so amazing. It is more than I could have. My own thoughts would have had. And here, is this kind of a little bit of what you're vibing on there? Yeah.
It and I think the words to describe it would be humbled and appreciative, right? That's how I feel.
Coming from a place of gratitude, which
right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And and it sounds to me that this is also what helps you stay so inspired and curious and creative. Right? Is this whole kind of collective lift that is happening around you and the ripples that you get to see of what it's doing for others.
Right. And again, going back to as this grows and how you feel and how messy it can get sometimes.
Yeah.
I think I also, if I would go back 20 years, if I were asked the question, what do you think a CEO does in a day? I would think, well, they must be, all of these amazing meetings and be able to just do whatever they want and all of these things. If I go back to like 18-year-old Adelle, now when you look at what it is, it truly is recognizing problems and fixing them every day, and you never know what the problem's going to be.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right?
Yes.
But again, like for me, that's exciting.
Yep.
I love the challenge, and you can see that you're going to, you're going for your mission, you're going for your impact, but it gets messy. And then again, all of those people that help you figure those things out. It's not this clean, hey, we've thought and we have this detailed plan about how everything's going to go here.
Right.
That's not how it works.
No, it isn't. Well, Adelle, thank you for sharing your story, your vision, heart, and creativity. It's shining through on everything that you're doing. You're lifting students, educators, entire communities through this innovation and imagination that you're creating. And your journey really reminds us that when leaders dare to dream, they create spaces where others can dream too. And it's just been a pleasure to have you here.
And Karen, thank you for always lifting everyone around you.
Thank you.
And me. Thank you.
Adelle is truly on the forefront of positive change for the next generation. Her bold new approach is making waves and seeing results. For more about her work and the Total Experience Learning Academy, see the show notes below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and remember to always lift.